you have to click on the two, I think.
Shall we start with the video?
Yeah, but let's see, let's find it.
This one?
Yes.
So, this one is not connected, I think.
Let's see if mine is working. Okay. Levent, I'm going to make the introduction while we wait. Hello, everybody. My name is Venci. I had the joy to participate 2 years ago and won 2 categories. And because we received a question from the audience, what related to the multimedia that you can attach to the project, I asked Levent to showcase the multimedia we used last year. So this is the one that actually won. And I haven't showed it anywhere else, just hope you like it. ImmersiveX is a visual effects studio and facility dedicated to creating augmented and virtual reality solutions that resolve digital transformation challenges and help businesses and education stakeholders build a new generation of content. In January 2020, ImmersiveX Studio began a collaboration with the Association of Student Explorers called Atlas, a Histological Specimen. The goal of the project was to create an innovative digital product which would operate in line with the fundamental mission of the association, which is to help medical students. Venci Vulcanov demonstrated a wide range of organizational skills which were of big importance for the success of the project. The strategy of ImmersiveX Studios was to invest in the project to demonstrate professional competence in the field of immersive technologies and realistic holograms and showcase the project at science fairs, innovation summits, and business contacts. Because Venci was working together with the students, he was able to brainstorm ideas that were feasible for the studio and were a smart investment. He navigated the students to the right outcomes that bring higher returns. In 2020, the Atlas of Histological Specimen won the competition for innovative entrepreneurship by Inter-European Concept Innovation Network, and the company was among the finalists in the national contest Innovative Enterprise of the Year by ArtFund. Thank you.
So I think that's a really good example of how you have to be a salesperson to sell yourself, right? How did you prepare this? Did you use your own resources? How did you actually come to 126 minutes of let's say success?
Okay, so I always have a strategy when I'm doing any kind of presentation, and I know how long it should last to count the words. And usually in 1 minute you can say 160 words, but you should try to say less so that people have more time to actually hear and remember and learn what you are saying. So I would say 120 words per minute. So in 90 seconds I have 180 words, and I write a script and I remove everything that I can remove and not lose value, and just focus on the things that actually add value. And sometimes you can add value if you make a small joke, or you just loosen the tension if you're talking, especially in technical projects, about very complicated matters that are frameworks, technology, cloud, streamings and things. It always helps out to kind of alleviate the tension of the matter so that people remember we're all human and you connect.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually in project management, one of the important skills is to be able to sell the project. So pitching the idea, even in the initiation phase, right? Sometimes a good presentation can help you change everything, right? So I think this is a very good example. I don't remember if you had other good examples, but maybe we can share them with you if anybody's interested. But making a good promo video, I think it's also very good for you to get your story right. So tell us a little bit more about the application itself, because I think when you won 2 awards, you were a bit astonished, right?
That's true, that's true. First of all, I would like to use this moment to say thank you and express my gratitude to Silvia Tsenkova, because she is related to the project management community. Thank you. And there are so many professionals related to, as everybody before me said, this community and this family. We met actually in this same location as we are today, and this is the same location where the project idea came. We thought of all this, me and several students in the lounge that is on the other side of this stage. So the space itself has helped create this project, which helped me win this award and be together with you again tonight in the same location. So now to return to the question, I'm sorry, but it's very, very important to understand the language of the application process, because coming into ImmersiveX, I had a background as an entrepreneur. And I would say, when I would describe myself, I would say that I'm the CEO of the company or the founder of the startup or the person behind the idea. It was always something related to the initiative that I'm putting. But after completing this form and actually being able to answer all the questions in so many details and so many different ways to look at the same thing, that I understood that if I say that I am a project manager, I don't even have to say I'm the CEO. So leadership can be translated as project governance. What you do to govern the project is actually the ideas that you might have as a leader to influence your team. Or you could say we work with clients, but then after completing the form, you realize the client is a stakeholder, and I have this stakeholder, but I have 5 more. So just using the language that's used in the application form and applying these same concepts and terms to actually everything that happens daily. You can articulate it better. You can focus your life based on one simple triangle, which is the project scope, always time, money, and people. And if you begin to think about these 3 things, about every stakeholder, about all the stakeholders in every project, actually being an entrepreneur is something you can scale because you are a project manager.
I think you managed to win the awards, not only because you are a good startup or a good professional, but you understand the old school project managers. In a way, because actually in our profession, in PMOs, we have a lot to learn from startups. So actually we need to listen. That's why I invited Emil, who is also in our session, who knows all about pitching, right, Emil? Where can I see you?
Hello.
Good evening, Emil.
Why don't
Good evening,
Emil, very shortly, let me just try to put you on screen. I think I just need to stop presenting. There you are. So tell us a little bit about the scene that you are running here, actually the pitch to pitch, and what we can learn as project managers in our corporations from the startups.
So first, thank you, Levent, for the invite. Thank you, Vince. I'm glad to see you on stage again. I'm currently joining you from Israel. Basically, the points that I would like to emphasize here, the education that startups need to understand how important project management is for them. Many of the startups experience the pirate effect. The pirate effect, what we call, is basically that everybody is working on anything, trying to, most of the time, to fight with local fires. And basically, the things that are long-term project requires long-term attention and work, they are postponed to the after the fires and are giving it lower priority, and this causing delays, and much help is needed in these sectors. It's happening in many startups. I see it once after maybe 50 startups that we already seen this year on the stage of pitch to pitch. All of them are lacking project management skills. We as organizations, I am standing behind Networking Premium Co-working. We are your hosts right now. We are trying to first develop startup education, meaning more people to work in a startup, work on a startup on their own idea, and on the second level to improve their success rates. We all know that success rates of the startups is very low, nearly 5% of the startups survive, but it doesn't really matter because the percent of entrepreneur succeeding is much higher. Basically means entrepreneur, once he becomes entrepreneur, he might not succeed in the first startup, on the second, but on the third he will have much higher chances of success. And we have a fact on this success area, and you as a performance project management specialist have higher chance of succeeding. If you will manage to reach those startups and educate them and make them better in project management, the success we are all going to feel it. It's something major that I think you have great chance.
Thank you. Actually, in our community, in our chapter, we did run a study among the startups in a very interesting survey. It was basically not one that would give any lessons or dictate anything, but it was more like understanding what goes wrong in the startup environment. And actually, we found project management to be the main reason for failure. And Todor, maybe you would like to say a few words about the study that we did?
Hi. It was actually a study financed by a project that we made. It was financed by the European Commission, and we gathered like 6 chapters, I think, and it was a chapter from Turkey, Bulgarian chapter, Slovenia chapter, France, yes, and we developed a book that is how startups can use project management techniques to start their development of their projects they do. And actually it was very interesting because most of the startups, they at one time didn't realize that actually they're doing project management. And it was very interesting because they said, well, why are you asking me about this? And we say, because you're project manager. No, I'm not project manager, I'm startup. Yeah, Benzi can say this about, can speak about this. But yeah, it was really, we discovered the same things. Like 5% of the startups would turn up and do what they do, and they will develop and they will survive. 95% they don't. We just did this. What Emil said is true. Actually, we found it in our survey as well.
Emil, in your experience, among those competitions that you are organizing, those that are successful to attract investor money, right? Because that's what they are mostly looking for. Would you say that you can detect scale up by the fact that they are actually using project management practices?
First of all, on the investment process itself, it's a project management itself. It takes a long time, and you need to organize yourself. So you're not just running out of everything and getting the money immediately. It's a process that takes time, and it's divided to different. Whether we have an interest for investment, we need to follow it up. It's a mini procedure for it, and a project as itself. So definitely, if you can become a better project management, you can attract more capital to you, and it might change the chances of your success significantly. Only this sector alone, I'm speaking only about the capital raise. So it's definitely something that can help. The education, the startup education is something that we lack about project management, especially I was speaking about. Many of the startups, even now when I try to invite people for this event to apply for the award, they don't understand why they need project management. And they don't need how positive the effect of project management skills can be in their startup. And this is something we should find a way to work on it.
Well, this is why we want to partner with Emil and all the BESCOs and the startup communities in this country, so that we can raise a bit of awareness how project management can help. Also, we don't actually necessarily ask them to create a PMO or something. It's all about even the founder, managing their time, managing their, even just using OKRs can be like a project management. I think we need to raise awareness, because I think most industries think we are boring people. I think we need to change this image and show them that we can actually go into action. And I believe a lot of companies like Bosch, they are actually initiating startup hubs, and they are actually interested in bringing the project management into the startup community, because, well, if you want to run an experiment, you better run one that will be successful, right? You don't want failed experiments.
It's true. Also, for startup becoming an established company and go to the next level, it's inevitable to learn about project management. So you cannot jump to the next level without knowing. Maybe you develop them in your own and you don't categorize them as project management, but this is the only way that you can scale up your startup. And this is usually where the stages they do understand that they might hire external experience in project management, and then they actually forced to do it.
But maybe culture is also important. Vensi, according to you, I mean, in your project, what kind of culture did you have? Was it one person? Was it a small team? Was it a community, big organization? Because culture will be very different in different types of startups.
Yes, thank you for this question. The context in our case was that we were a small studio, we had a small team, but we were trying to be more innovative and work with more stakeholders and partners in our project. And maybe here it would make sense to speak more about the PMO organization that we want as ImmersiveX and the team effort and collaboration. I didn't even know what a PMO was before the award ceremony, actually. And we spent 20 hours just writing the revision and the application forms for this project because I had been leading it and leading the team and all the stakeholders and just doing what I can think of and what comes natural as being the leader of an idea. But then after making all these details and answering all these questions, after that, the following year, when we won financing from the European Union and expanded into Poland, all the documents we had to prepare for the investors, it seemed easy because it's just one stakeholder and you know what this stakeholder is expecting to hear and they know that you must know this. And at the same time, when you are trying to deal with a startup, if you don't think about all the stakeholders, the way that the application process looks at them, it would be a very big mess. As I think Emil tried to say, that if you don't realize you're doing project management, you have to realize it because you are doing it either way. And having a PMO inside your organization, I think is very common for startups that are in innovative industries where you can take the new technology that's cutting edge and it has more than one application. So you can take virtual reality, you can take augmented reality, they have an application for education, but as well they have the application for business or for digitalizing processes inside organizations or achieving digitalization goals. So the same technology can serve for many different verticals and startups pivot a lot. As soon as you reach some new conclusions or you gain new information, this is something I appreciate very much from the application process, the knowledge discovery. So if you think about knowledge discovery, what you didn't know in the beginning, what you found out, and were you expecting to find it out, or were you expecting that you're going to find out something that you don't know at the moment? So how much does knowledge discovery actually affect it? Because a lot of startups doing something new, they work on hypothesis. So you have a hypothesis, how do you prove it? You need knowledge discovery. So I think everything, as Lee said, he's been doing it for such a long time and the principles behind it haven't changed so much. Just people take more selfies because the interface changes, but the principles behind success tend to remain the same.
And how about product management? Not just project management, because when I look at your presentation, I see a product.
Well, yes. So the application form helps in sort of framing what the product will be with the aspects that look at what the target audience is going to be. How did you choose this audience? How did you find out this audience? Did you find some statistics to confirm this audience exists, or do you know it from your experience? If you know it from your experience, then maybe the niche or industry you're working at, you have some insight. Are you thinking about monetizing or capitalizing the insight that you have? So with the triangle, time, people, and resources that you have, when you apply this principle to everything you're doing, the application form, I think, should be completed for every project you think of. Not even with the goal to participate and apply to get the award, just to do it for yourself, because it puts a lot of information into an
But you were able to translate the product management aspects into project management aspects.
Exactly, because we didn't know that we were building an atlas for augmented reality. We just knew that we want to be an established studio working with augmented and virtual reality, and we want to make a project for the education and prove the concept and prove this hypothesis. So we needed a lot of knowledge discovery in the process to create the product. And that's what we were discussing with the students in the other lounge when we were doing the brainstorming in this location. What is the audience of medical students that we can reach that would benefit from this atlas? And which is this audience, which is the widest, so that we don't create a product limited to a specific set of people. We create a product that can actually be beneficial for more students. So just picking the target audience was something that we had to project manage beginning this project, because the stakeholders that were the studio and the investors in the studio needed to know why we decided from all the possible projects that we can do, why was it an atlas of histological specimen. So on one side, the students need to know why they are doing it and why they are benefiting their goals for their organization, but as well the studio itself had a different set of goals that needed to be achieved. And I needed to convince all these people to make this project because I wanted for it to happen, but it actually turns out that that's the job of a project manager, to articulate what's going on to all the stakeholders, be it the CEO of the company, be it the investor behind the company, be it the team that's executing the project, be it the company that's partnering with your organization to bring insight or direction, be it the team that's discovering everything that's going on in the...
Actually, that's an interesting point, because I always say, if you're in a repeated game, right? If you're in the industry for a long term, in a way you will go from one project to another, and your stakeholders, you will build credibility, your track record. So if you're doing something for the first time, right? That's the definition of a startup in a way. All you have to sell is somehow your CV, your personality, right, as a, let's say, a founder. But actually, I think they're focusing too much on the founder's personality and not enough on what they are trying to achieve and how many times have they done before, because yeah, some of it could be just an experiment or a pet project. I think this is the worst case. But what our audience is more interested in, first of all, let's hear from our project managers. Let's make it a bit more interactive. Do we have some project managers here who are working for startups or worked with startups? Any? Only Ivan? You buried the startup. You buried them. But it's an unforgettable experience, right? Yeah. So this is what I was mentioning as culture, because if you work in the corporate world, first you need to make a mind shift. You need to have a different way of thinking about whatever we call it, whether product or project.
Your baby.
Well, they say a baby is a project as well, but that's the kind of project I'm not interested in investing in. But anyways, that's a personal choice. Yeah. Ivan, what's your experience with startups? As a project manager, where do you see project managers fit into a startup? Where can we, let's say, help them?
Yeah, well, what everybody... I was listening carefully and I really agree with what was said so far. So I was actually thinking to myself that, as you actually mentioned at the beginning, it's project managers who maybe can learn more from startup environments, where you need to be a little bit more open-minded, a little bit thinking closer to the business reality. Because sometimes in projects, especially in big companies and corporations, you maybe sit a little bit further away from the real deal that's happening between the company and its clients.
High in the tower, and you don't know what's going on in the fringes.
Exactly. And that's why often it happens that you don't really understand, okay, why is my project on hold now? Why is it not going forward? Why is this great idea not moving, or whatever? So more and more, I think we can learn from startup environments to kind of be more reactive to the business.
One of the most difficult things I've experienced, because I call myself an anti-project manager, is pivoting.
Yeah.
I go into any project and I say, why don't we change this? And everybody starts screaming.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not what was in the plan. Why are you smiling?
And
This happens every time, that actually when you try to pivot, because we cannot just stay on the same course if there is an obstacle in front of us.
Yep. And to the original questions, what startups may learn from project management, let's say science or field. I think you touched it. Maybe be able to more quickly make a reality check, because there is a hypothesis, and very often entrepreneurs fall in what is called the entrepreneurial bias. So it's your idea, you love it, and you start getting slowly blind about some signs that tell you, no, you need to move in a little bit different direction, or that's not the right one. Maybe general management also, you know, tools can help you here, you know, to see what you planned, put it on some kind of a tangible plan, and see if you're actually close to these numbers that you are actually expecting, or you're really, really far away from that, and react maybe earlier. So maybe project management can help with this reality check a little bit earlier.
So, yeah, we tried to work a little bit with the, I'll stand over here, so it's easier. We tried to work with the startup community in Belgium. And what we found was that the mentality of entrepreneurs is very different than the normal person on the street. They have a fantastic belief system that they're out to change the world. Anything that's gone before them is old, you know. Sorry about that. And they have to rethink everything and do everything. And the last thing they want is some guy like me coming in explaining project management to them. And they think, oh no, I can have an app for that. I can do this for that. So it's hard for them to own up, and that's why you're an entrepreneur, but you actually appreciate outside help, and that's the difference. There's only a small amount of entrepreneurs who are actually thinking like you. So it's how to get that message across to them that, you know, that we're not old-fashioned and that we actually have some value, and maybe by asking them better questions, we can get them to realize. But we definitely won't get them to realize by telling them that they need us, you know, that's for sure. Now, you mentioned one word there, the most important word for me was checklist. Because we can give an entrepreneur a project management process, but you've got to build that with their own checklist, which they build up over time, and that's their knowledge and how they apply it. And together, I think, with the checklist, which is your own knowledge, with the process, then we can really help startup communities. That's it. Thank you.
Well, one thing.
Please don't applaud.
One thing that I can. Okay. Thank you, Frank. Well, one thing that I have learned in the last 6 years working with in the PMI community is that every project is a startup. I think this is something we shouldn't forget. And I think we don't need to think about entrepreneurial approach, but we need to become all intrapreneur. I think this is one term, if you don't know it, look it up, intrapreneur. Basically, you need to sell the project, the idea, internally, in the inner market, in the company that you are in. If you can't do it, good luck. You are just taking orders from somebody else. So if you want to change the narrative, sell your idea, you have to become an intrapreneur. I don't know. Emil, what do you think? You also work with corporations in the past?
I had experience, 4 years I've been working in an American corporation in Israel here. And basically, I think it's pretty vital for every path of entrepreneur to have this kind of corporate experience, to understand these processes. It really helps on the way. I had the luck to do my first job in an American corporate as engineer, and it basically helped me to become a better entrepreneur today. Many entrepreneurs, he's right, they think they know everything, they think they cannot learn anything else from their colleagues or from any books or anything that seems to them unfashioned, and it's a pretty mistake, and I do recommend it one after a time, your first job not to be a startup, or maybe to be a startup but you're not founding the startup. You have a good boss to learn from that had experience in a corporate.
So do we have any anecdotes from stories from the audience? Any projects that you are running you would like to apply for the startup category? Emil, it sounds like we don't have the right audience. Here we have.
So I know you're not typical project manager, which is okay. And there is this phase in the project management called project initiation. And as Levent said, every project could be considered a startup. So when the project manager starts a project, usually she or he needs to set up the project charter and initiate the project. And in this charter, you need to be very specific about the achievements, the goal, the objectives, and the business case, yeah? So I want to ask you, as a startup and entrepreneurs, how would you relate this phase with the project chart and project initiation to the startup initiation? Because I see a lot of similarities, especially when you need to prepare business case, business plan for the development, and actually get your stakeholders buy-in.
So here is where we start learning from you.
Okay, very, very good question, actually, kind of tricky. And I was already thinking about the responses you were saying it, and instead of going into like all the details and explaining what the form contains and all those things that you need to fill out, that you can open a YouTube video and follow them like all those business documents that they say are a must for every startup. You have like a 7 methodology, you have the SWOT, you have a lot of things. I actually practice future self-management, because if this startup and this idea is going to be successful, it's going to consist of a set of processes that take out a certain amount of time. And since I already have some things going on, I'm very conscious about the time that is available. And I always leave a % of the week in the schedule for knowledge discovery and actually events that happen that you cannot predict. And this is something that project management taught me, because we always try to forecast what's going to happen in a project. And all these documents that we fill out, they sort of give us this sense of control and confidence that we can expect what's going to happen in the future. And if you make the mistake to fill the schedule to 100% and something that you didn't predict happens, then you're running out of time. You write minus 10% of the time you have available. So where do you get that time from? Your sleep, or the time you spend with your family, or a lot of things. So I've burned out quite many times doing the startup, because you know that startups are an emotional roller coaster. This is something that I might bring as insight from being an alumni of various acceleration programs. So mental preparation for founders is very important, because you're riding the emotional roller coaster. Today it feels like winning, it changes in 1 month, you pivot, it's horrible, it happens all the time. It can get you exhausted. So what does success actually mean for a person? You have the economic goals in your life, but you also should have some biblical goals in your life, not obligatorily religious, but things that you believe in and probably your future self is going to believe in too. So if you believe that work-life balance is important, that you need to be present for your family, for your friends, for your business, for your pet, for yourself, for your sleep time, for your me time, whatever, you have to set all this in the schedule, figure out the buffer of unpredictability that you usually live by, depending on what your personality type is, if you're risky or a control freak, and then just manage this. And it makes sense in the long term, this for entrepreneurs, because they very often, when you begin the startup initiation or the project initiation, you have to believe in it. So in order to believe in it, it has to comply with your set of beliefs and values in your future, because it's going to take up your future time. And I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Actually, Anita's question is a bit like, imagine you're about to cross the Atlantic. Okay, you can take the Titanic, or you can say, okay, I'll build my own boat and cross it on my own. Yeah, or do something in between.
Okay, and think about the reward. If they say that, okay, if you cross the Atlantic, you can spend 1 million euros, and we give you 1 million euros in a bag that you can hold on board with you during the trip, and you can spend it when you get there. Okay, but in the middle of the ocean, it gets really difficult and scary, and you realize that money actually isn't driving motivation for you. Or you get into it for the money, and the first time you win like the pre-seed, and the first time you get a little bit of money, and you get hyped and you spend it in the incorrect way, and you never reach this moment that, again, you have disposable funds. Because the first time you had them, you weren't mentally prepared, so you got excited, you made mistakes, you lost it. And you realize that money cannot be a long-term motivation for you. You have to believe in what you're doing. It has to, in some acceleration programs, the first day when you post the idea, they give you the United Nations list of challenges, and you have to pick at least 2 that your idea can benefit. At least 2 of the world global problems. Because if you ever lose motivation, or life hits you in the face a bit harder than you expected, you can always fall back on the beliefs you have.
But we have to have at least a good understanding of what the journey will be like before we actually go on the Atlantic. So we need to write down I will go from here to there. Oops, I ran out of gas. Right? You need
Yeah.
to plan the road's resources, how it will spend
Yes.
resources, right?
You have to know the
What
currents in the sea.
Anita was asking is a very specific question. Did you use something like a project charter when you started that would guide you, and at least you would see the map and the Atlantic and how many kilometers you have to go, right? It's something very, let's say, like a defter,
Yeah,
book.
exactly.
Did you have a book where you said, these are the things I will do, this is the journey I want to, you know, you didn't want to do like Christopher Columbus, just go west and find India, right?
Okay. So when I started, I didn't make auto calculations. I bet it was an emotional decision for me, or it was a pivotal moment in my life where I had to make a decision and take control of the direction things are going. And I got impressed with the VR technology, and I said that this is going to explode in a couple of years, and I have to decide right now, am I going to be on the side of the users and receive the benefits of this technology, or am I going to be on the side of the suppliers and actually provide these benefits to the world, which gives a response, so, okay, how can I be useful to the world? Yeah, this is a task I can do. So just using the moment of motivation to pick a decision for a technology, a direction, a niche, and I didn't know anything at that time, actually.
You're talking more and more like Elon Musk. Be careful.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't understand any of that.
I invested a lot of time in learning the technologies and the backbone behind it, and then a lot of time failing. And I think that difficult projects and fail stories,
So, advice to project managers: first, learn to become a geek.
yeah, you have to geek out, you have to fail a couple of times. And actually, after submitting the awards, participating in the award ceremony last time, we were able to secure financing. So the whole process benefited us, and that we organized ourselves.
Yeah, let's talk about the awards part, because actually that's why we are here, to help anyone who wants to apply. Maybe those of you who haven't been, Sylvia, did you already compete in a competition, and or is it your first time, for example?
It will be our first time applying.
Very good. So, what would you like to learn?
Startup, okay.
Well, you're not a startup, but you can think like one, right? Which category you will apply for?
I'm thinking about the special project category.
The sector specific.
Sector specific, yes.
And the project, how about the social one? You don't have social projects?
We have, but I think that we might not win.
Okay, that's first thing. Don't lose, don't make yourself lose, first of all. Consider all your options. Because actually, with Scale Focus, we had this conversation last year, and they wanted to go for the best project of the year. And I said, why do you want to go there where your chances of winning are, you know, not slim, but you divide it by the number of applicants, you know. If there are only 2 applicants, the chance is 50-50, right? If there are 10, it's 10%. So actually, one of the first things you should do is choose the right category for your project, because actually our approach is very generic. So you can apply in a number of categories. The questions are also the same yes, almost the same, meaning you can, this is a frame, you know, for you to actually put on a picture, you know, like in photography. Whatever you choose, you can, for example, project team. As I said, you can apply for your project team. You just need to frame it from the point of view of how you build that team and what made them so special, right? But I think you should also look at the artifacts that you need to present. Maybe Emil can say a few words about pitching. You see, it's the pitch that matters. And I believe in the multimedia section, as Vancy did, if you put good material and you make maybe start with that. How can you build a winning narrative, and then you can fit your project into that. Maybe it can. Okay, so start from the end, I always say, you know, start from the end. Don't start from the initiation, start from the end. I'm upside down, I know. So Emil, from the pitch competitions, can you give any advice? Like, you know, typically, how do they win?
So basically, it's a whole 1-hour lecture about the pitching, but I will try to make it as focused as I can. you need to be a character. You need to be an interesting character. You need to be able to tell the story in few words, in a simple way that even your child will understand. So you need to make it like the hook, like to make it really appealing and concise. Use some numbers, but don't go too much with the numbers because people tend to forget about the numbers or don't have base number for comparison. Don't tell we have 1,000 customers in these or these sectors if you don't use a comparison. But if you say Apple has 10,000 customers and we have 1,000, that already puts you really quite close to Apple and it's interesting. Just one example. Try to look, there is many videos online, the famous one, Shark Tank and Dragon's Den. It's very interesting, watch all of them. You can watch all of them, it's non-binding, you can watch here and there. So you see what other European and American startups are doing, how do they pitch, what are the questions. It's pretty educational and fun to watch. Don't watch really your competition too much, watch more something higher to look forward to about the pitching. And final part, if you're pitching for getting money, always know that you have your terms, you know, your valuation, the amount of money you're looking for. But always remember people and organization, they like good deals. So present a good deal for the guy. So this is our valuation, this is what we're looking for. If he's willing to invest, give him a big push with a bit better deal. I'll give you 0.2% as advisory fee. I'll give you a discount 20% as a convertible loan. Give him a good deal. It might get the money faster to you. And you know, in the beginning stage of a startups, don't be stingy about your valuation.
Thank you. Well, I think at the end of the day, what wins always is self-esteem and believing in yourself. And we also see that in you. I think that's one very strong advice I can give you. You can only be persuasive. You can convince others that you are good if you actually believe in it. So this is also something very important. Your first check should be, do we have a good project? Did we do a good job? If you don't believe that, please don't apply, because I think that would be first fooling yourself. But usually, I would say people inside the project, they know that they have done a good job. It's something they can be proud of. So if you lead with pride, I think you can never lose.
Thank you, you're very kind, but it was Sylvia who had to actually push this confidence into me. That we
Then we give the microphone to Sylvia.
Yeah.
So Sylvia, why did you choose Vinci?
Oh, we got to know each other in a startup event.
I think it was a pitch-to-pitch session
Exactly,
hosted by
Puzzle.
Emil in 2019, September.
Yeah, it was in Puzzle co-working space. So we kind of clicked. And I saw his passion for what he's doing. And there is another person here in the audience who I'm kind of trying to convince to participate, because I see his passion too. But this is the passion that I saw in Venti that motivated me to help him. I saw that our application forms were really too formal. They were too much from our kind of way of seeing the world from project management. So I helped him, and I saw how he switched and started to see that he indeed is a project manager. So I saw this also in the other participants in the startup category. So it was really a very nice experience to guide them on the way and kind of digest this formal framework that we used in the application form and help them see that they actually do very important work and to put kind of a frame on it. And here I want to say one remark because of how we introduce project management to the startup world. We have to be really very responsible about this as project managers, because startups are about innovation, they're about breaking rules, they're about thinking in a different way. So maybe we can guide them, but project management is usually about putting a framework, putting some boundaries. So for this reason, I'm very careful when I talk to startups about project management, because I would like them, well, maybe they can fail, but they learn from this. And project management might be, you know, kind of.
You are explaining the difference between
Yeah.
NASA and SpaceX.
Yeah, I just want that we are conscious about what kind of frame we put around startups, because I believe startup is really about creating something new. And it might be a new way of working, which we also talk about in project management.
Maybe we should create a new standard for startups. Yeah. Maybe we should create something new.
Yeah, thank you.
And you will be the next startup competition.
Maybe. Thank you for
Tell
the
us about your
invitation.
project.
Yeah, my project is about financial literacy for kids. We're teaching kids how to manage money, and we have created few products already. So maybe we can apply our thinking about it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, any other ideas? Anybody else wants to contribute, or would you like to go and have another drink?
I did mention videos, 2 videos. What were they?
Let's see the second one. So it's all about selling finally. Selling your project. Well, what's the difference?
This one. Okay.
There we go. And what movie?
They are very similar. ImmersiveX is a visual effects studio dedicated to creating augmented and virtual reality solutions that resolve digital transformation challenges and help businesses and education stakeholders build a new generation of content by leveraging professional expertise, synergy, and automation. It was founded in February 2019. In the beginning of 2020, ImmersiveX sponsored a collaboration with the Association of Student Explorers called Atlas of Histological Specimen. The goal of the project was to create an innovative digital product which would operate in line with the fundamental mission of the association, which is to help medical students. A three-dimensional photorealistic model of a human kidney was previewed through augmented reality on a mobile device inside a browser through a single web link. This preview shows medical students how the horizontal and vertical surgical incisions are made and also serves as a histological specimen. In 2020, the Atlas of Histological Specimen won the competition for innovative entrepreneurship by Inter-European Concept Innovation Network, and the company was among the finalists in the National Contest Innovative Enterprise of the Year by ArcFund.
It'd be good to show the kidney after a good night out on the drink.
When we tried, yeah, what we tried to do with the second video was more to focus on the project team and the studio as an organization itself. So that's why we showed more technical details related to the work, what the 3D modeling people were trying to do. And I can tell you the person who was doing the model had so many pictures of kidneys on his computer. It almost seemed like he was a fan of the dark web. You know, they were just freshly cut out of the human body because there is this tissue that's really flashy on top of it. And then technical details about the technical team building a link, augmented reality, web-based, details like this.
Well, it's already 9 o'clock, so let's have our Q&A, because I think the topic is quite big actually, and there is much more we can do about this. Maybe we should think about starting something like a focus group on how we can combine what we can learn from startups in project management. I don't know if there are any big companies who want to sponsor such an event. We can bring together more startups with Emil's help. Maybe bring corporations and startups together. Emil, maybe this is something we can work on. How can we bring a few big companies or PMOs and how they can learn from startups? If you have any more... yeah, both ways, yes. That's the interesting thing. They can, I mean, I'm sure, the thing is, Emil, I said this before, I think we should also look for scale-ups, not just startups. But scale-ups, they really need it. I have seen quite a few in Bulgaria in the last 2 years. They start hiring hundreds or 500 developers, and then they say, oh, we need project managers now. Well, shouldn't you do it the other way around, you know? This really happens in front of your eyes, and you know who they are. I mean, the unicorns, the so-called unicorns. Project manager is the last thing that they want to look for, and maybe that also tells something about our profession. We are not leading the conversation. So this is something we should really change. They first hire their technical teams and then look for project managers. This means we are not really leading the game. So just a point. Maybe we can try to change that. I think this is why maybe the community can be very helpful. So I'm really very happy to see institutions like Postbank. I think we can organize maybe some very special sessions on how to bring a PMO, a big chunk, and a small warrior, you know, David and Goliath, and try to learn from each other. That can be an interesting interaction. Anyone's inspired to ask any questions to our nominations or evaluation team? Anybody who wants to apply? We have a very mixed audience tonight. Any questions, any remarks? Otherwise we're... Hey, Frank.
I'm an ambassador from Belgium here, and I really like the way this is organized. It's more like a
MS.
no, like a sitting room event where people can participate and stuff. It's great because it creates energy in the community, and I think that's why you can have 800 people at your. We can only have 180 in Belgium, you know. So this is great. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Sealy, I told you. Okay, great.
Next time, I think we will reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, John.
You're welcome.
All right, Emil, thank you so much. I think we can wrap this up and do this again. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Emil.